You ever feel like something is just holding you back from success? Something invisible? Well, today we're cracking open Napoleon Hill's classic, Think and Grow Rich, to expose the secret enemies that might be sabotaging your goals from the inside out.
So let's kick things off with the million-dollar question, right? What is the number one reason people fail? We all wonder this. Is it a lack of money? Not enough opportunities? Maybe you didn't go to the right school? What is it?
Well, Napoleon Hill spent a whopping 25 years of his life obsessed with this question. He studied over 500 of the most successful people of his day. We're talking giants like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford. And what he found, well, it probably isn't what you think.
All right, so let's get into the heart of it. Hill didn't just find one enemy of success. He found three. Three that worked together in a sinister little partnership he called the unholy trio.
And here they are: indecision, doubt, and fear. Now, what's so powerful about this idea is that Hill didn't see these as just random feelings. Nope. He saw them as active forces that follow a very specific, predictable pattern to absolutely wreck our ambitions.
And this quote right here, it nails the starting point of the whole problem. The entire cycle of destruction begins with something that feels so small, so harmless, simple indecision. It's the tiny little seed from which this huge, terrifying tree of fear is going to grow.
So here's how that toxic chain reaction actually plays out. Step 1. It all starts with indecision. Just not making a firm choice. But if you let that hang around, it hardens. It crystallizes into step 2. Doubt. Now you're questioning your plan, your abilities, everything. And finally, those two mix together and they become the big boss, the most powerful enemy of them all: fear.
Okay, so now we know where fear comes from, but what is it exactly? Hill didn't just leave it as this big, vague concept. He got super specific and broke it down into 6 basic fears that he believed are behind pretty much everything we worry about.
But before we even look at that list, you have to get this. For Hill, fear is just a state of mind. That's it. It's not a real wall, it's a thought pattern. But, and this is a huge but, that state of mind is more than enough all by itself to completely sabotage any chance you have of succeeding at anything.
And here they are, the 6 basic fears according to Hill. Just look at this list for a second: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Do any of these hit home? Hill was convinced that almost every single anxiety we have can be traced back to one of these 6 because they plug directly into our deepest needs for survival and belonging.
And let's get practical. How do the 2 most common fears, poverty and criticism, actually show up in our day-to-day lives? The fear of poverty isn't just worrying about an empty bank account. It looks like indecision, being overly cautious, and procrastinating. And that fear of what other people think, that can make us timid, self-conscious, or, ironically, cause us to overspend just to try and impress people.
But you know what? The story doesn't end there. Beyond the unholy trio and those 6 fears, Hill pointed to one more, even more fundamental problem. Think of it as the weakness that lets all the other enemies into your head in the first place.
Let's go back to that seedling metaphor. If indecision is the seed and fear is the big, ugly tree, this next thing is the soil. It's the fertile, toxic ground that we create in our own minds that allows all this stuff to grow.
And there it is, the 7th evil: susceptibility to negative influences. This is all about letting the negative chatter of the world, the doubts, the fears, the discouraging opinions of other people, seep into your own mind and take over. Hill called this an evil because it means you've basically handed over the keys to your own brain, making you a target for every bit of negativity out there.
Okay, so we've identified all these enemies inside of us. It sounds a little bleak, right? But what's the solution? How do we possibly fight back? Well, this leads us to the most empowering part of Hill's entire philosophy: taking back command of our inner world.
And this right here, this is the whole game. You can't control the stock market, you can't control what other people think of you, you can't control the weather, but you have absolute control over one single thing: your own thoughts. And Hill believed this is the most powerful fact in the universe, because if you can control your thoughts, you can control your destiny. Period.
So it all boils down to 2 paths, 2 choices. You can have a mind controlled by fear, which paralyzes you and basically invites failure to come hang out. Or you can have a mind controlled by a definite purpose, which unleashes your creativity, builds unstoppable persistence, and creates success. According to Hill, that choice is 100% yours to make.
So, we'll leave you with the question to really think about. Look back at that unholy trio: indecision, doubt, and fear. And that seventh evil, letting negative influences in. Let's be real for a second. Which of these enemies have you let set up camp in your mind? And what's the one decision you can make right now to start taking back control?